Welcome to Unit 5, Lesson 3 of AP Computer Science Principles. We have started to explore how to use charts to process data stored in a table, but there are challenges with doing this. The ability to process that data depends on the users and available tools. So in this lesson, we are going to explore ways to refine the data that we can answer even more. To refine the data, then we can answer even more questions using the data visualizer. So let's go to Lesson 3. All right, I want you to imagine that you have used a survey to collect information from students. This is aligned with the first step in the data analysis process. All of that data is now stored in a table. If you are excited to dig into that data and see what you can learn, so let's go ahead and get started. You will have, let's go to code.org. All right. Your instructions, of course, are right here under the instructions. It says do this. So open the data tab. Familiarize yourself with the imported table. They have imported student info. And so what you need to do is actually click on student info. And you are going to look through that information. All right, I'm going to give you a moment to do that. Whenever you feel like you have looked at it enough, go ahead and come back to the video. Otherwise, pause the video and take a look at the rest of the information in this chart. Okay. Now, open the data visualizer. We're going to click Visualize Data and make two charts. The first chart is going to be the average hours of sleep, and the second chart is going to be the favorite subject, or about the favorite subject. And then with the person beside you, I want you to discuss these two questions, okay? What problems came up when trying to create these charts? And what problems do you see in the data? So pause the video here so that you can have this discussion with someone close to you, and then come back to the video and restart it. So if I go and make this chart like what they said, we're going to go with a bar chart, right? And we're going to go with average hours of sleep. All right, if we look at this information down here, why did they spell 6? Don't know, but this value should actually be counted in this area. So that's an issue. All right, and then they said favorite subject. So let's see. Art, biology, CS, computer science. Okay, those are the same, but they're just spelled or represented differently, so that's a problem. And English, that's a problem. History, that's a problem. Math, music, science, Spanish, lunch, lowercase math, lowercase music. All right, those two were issues. So that's a problem. Now, that brings us to the issue about data sets, sometimes at least, Data sets can bring challenges like what we just saw, no matter what their size. There can be incomplete data and invalid data. You might want to combine two tables with inconsistent data, and all of this requires data to be cleaned. So when does data need to be cleaned? Well, it needs to be cleaned when data is incomplete, data is invalid, or multiple tables combined into one. Sometimes there's too much information in a single table and it needs to be separated. So what leads to messy data? Well, you saw some examples. Users enter in different types of data, like spelling out the number 2 versus putting the integer 2. Users use different abbreviations to represent the same information, like February, Feb, whoever abbreviates it like that, I don't know. But also data may have different spellings. So in America, we spell color C-O-L-O-R, but in other parts of the world, they spell color C-O-L-O-U-R. Or there could be inconsistent capitalization, and we saw that in the favorite course data. We could have a lowercase spelling versus a capital, an uppercase spelling, and that is going to be an issue with the data. So when we clean data, the goal is to make it uniform without changing the meaning. So for example, if the word 2 is spelled instead of somebody putting the integer, we can change the word 2 to the integer 2, and it still means the same thing. We haven't changed anything. We haven't changed the meaning. And so you can do this with a partner or by yourself. Either way, you're going to have to clean your own table. And what we're going to do, you're going to go to Edit, and that is on each row. So I'm going to start right here, click Edit, and I'm just going to change that. Okay, Edit 6 1. Okay, clean the data manually. You're going to keep going through, and where you see issues with capitalization and spelling instead of using numbers, you have to clean that. Okay, oh, don't forget to hit save, or else that will be useless. Okay, manually update cells with messy data so they are consistent with other cells while not changing the meaning of the data. So pause the video here so that you can do that, okay? Okay, I think I got everything. Oh, no, I didn't. So double check that you did clean it, or else you're going to have to go back and clean it again. And remember, this is a string, but we need numbers. All right, now I think I got it all. Okay. So, make charts now for the average amount of sleep and the favorite class. And let me know, do your charts match the others in the class? Why or why not? All right, this will be a place where you can submit this question and the response in Google Classroom. Okay, you can add it as a comment to the assignment post, but make sure that you include the question and the lesson, okay? So, your charts should look similar to everybody else's chart, but it depends on how you cleaned your data. And now you are able to accurately visualize the data in your table. For this activity, we cleaned a data set that is similar to one you might create yourself or have uploaded from another location. However, the data sets in the dataset library have already been cleaned for you. You're welcome. Not like I did it though. So what if I only wanted to look at a subset of my data? How could I do this? So like if I only wanted to investigate dogs with long lifespans, how would I be able to do that? Well, let's see. Okay. If this is for entering text, okay, not quite what we want. Where are we? Okay. After you have cleaned your data and you've made your charts again, let's see what that looks like. Visualize data. Favorite subject should now look, wait, did I not fix that? Grr. Okay. See, that's why you have to go back and check. Okay, now let's visualize our data. Biology, computer, science, English, history, math, music, science, Spanish, and lunch. Okay, great. So I didn't also do the other one. Average hours of sleep. We should now only have numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Perfect. We're going to hit run and finish. Now, over here, we said, what if I only want to look at a subset of my data? How could I do this? So, your charts should look similar to others, but it depends on how you cleaned your data. Well, for this activity, the data sets are already cleaned, and we want to see, what if I only want to look at a subset of my data? How could I do this? Well, you could delete unwanted rows, but then that data is gone, and that's not necessarily what we want. So what we're going to have to do is filter our data. The best way to look at a subset of data is to use a filter. Software programs with built-in tools like the data visualizer can also be used to filter data. These tools help us find specific information in the data and look for patterns. So let's demonstrate how to filter data. We're going to level 2. We're already there. Okay, let's try to recreate this. So this is female state legislators, percentage of females in legislature, filtered state to Illinois. Female state legislators, percentage of females in legislature filtered by state, and we selected, or in the example, Illinois. This table should look like this table. All right, so that's how you can filter your data. So the bar farthest to the right over here represents the year when female representation in the legislature was at its highest in Illinois. So 36.2, although I guess that's an average. No, it's a percentage. I'm sorry. 36% of legislators in Illinois were female. That's the highest that it's been, is 36%. What year did that happen? I don't know. But it has only happened one time. Okay? So the most common percentage, we have 3, and that's between 18% and 27%, which is not great as far as equal representation between males and females. But I digress. So I want you to, at this point, work through the activity guide, okay? When filtering, the most challenging part is deciding what value you will filter by. So think to yourself, what's the limiting factor? What do I want to make sure all these percentages have in common to be included in this subset? And so now you get to move to the activity guide. And also, I want you to remember, whenever you visualize, to get the image onto your activity guide, click, what was that? View snapshot, and then copy. And then after you have done that, you can literally just come over here and click paste. Okay? So whenever it's asking you to create this chart, you can just copy it and then paste it. And whenever you start answering questions, it would be fantastic if you would put the color of the text to be something that is not the same color as the questions. That would help me out, and I would really appreciate that. So pause the video here so that you have time to complete the activity guide, but also keep in mind that we will be completing lesson 4. So pause the video here so that you can do that, and then come back to the video. So now we're going to wrap up this lesson. Why is clean and or filter an important part of the data analysis process? What are situations when you would filter versus clean your data? Well, messy data can lead to confusing charts that could be misinterpreted. Data should be filtered when you want to focus on a subset of the data, and filtering allows you to return to the full data set if you have unanswered questions. So, great job working. I know you did really well, and so I can't wait to look at what you submitted. You're going to submit this activity guide as a PDF when you finish. So File, Download, and then PDF. And that's what you're going to give me in Google Classroom. This is a useful skill that will help you create more powerful visualizations. There are other things that programs can do to better prepare data for visualizations, including combining data sets, clustering data, and classifying data. The data visualizer isn't the best tool for these more advanced concepts. So if you have So if you are interested in exploring more data analysis, I suggest researching tools like spreadsheets. And in the data analysis profession, they use Python a lot, and they use Python to create those visual representations. And they also use SQL, SQL, in order to manage the data. So what I need you to do is pause the video here and complete the check for understanding on code.org, which is Bubble 3, and then go ahead and start lesson 4.